Remember. All right, it looks like we're live. Let me know if you can hear me and see me properly. Maybe type one. It's nice to see all of you here. Um, yeah, we haven't done this live stream for a while, just over a month. Been trying to recover. Well, it's going pretty well, the recovery from the surgery, and I felt that we needed, yeah, to start again. My wife and I went out for lunch. We walked to the restaurant and it was fine. I was a little tired, but it's getting there. And yeah, thank you for all the wishes. Congratulations on the 100,000. Yeah, we reached it just a few hours ago. And yeah, it really picked up in the last few days. It's been a long time coming, but I think persistence, patience, and yeah, you just have to keep going at it. So, but nothing changes, of course. And Rudy's here, as you can see. He's asleep. And I also wanted to remember Billy. He was a big part of just this channel for many years. And now Rudy is taking over his job, his role very well, I would say, even though he's still pretty young. So if you are joining or listening to this recorded, you might want to jump about 10 minutes forward because what I do is I come on earlier and I say hi to everyone. And I think there's a lot of you. Let me check. I mean, there's a lot of you here already, almost 300, and a lot of likes as well, 131 likes. Thank you very much. And for any of you who are joining and haven't subscribed, make sure you do so we get even higher than 100,000. Um, so Mr. B is moderating, says greeting Mario. Big Bush Ape from Switzerland. Rich Tugas, bon retour Mario. I guess he's somewhere in France or Canada. Oh, my mic was clicking in and out. Okay. Maybe, let's see. Maybe I need to, is that better? Okay. Jake's Custom Parts is here. Weinstein 12, need more sincere and proficient people like you in government. Well, I'm not sure. I'd want to join the kind of governments we have now. Rudy had a legendary predecessor, yeah, Pablo Pina. Spock 2024, Mike is gone, and that's that. Uh, Mike, well, you're talking about Mike from Rethinking the Dollar. He wanted to try something new on his channel, and he wanted to do other stuff. And he said he wanted to stop doing the live streams. I don't. We haven't had any you know fights or anything. He just wants to try something new with his channel and content. Quadman72 says Rudolph for president. Yeah, Rudy for president. I think he'd do a much better job than many of the leaders out there. If I haven't replied to your comments, I'm sorry. It's just there's so many of you. I'll try to do my best. So, yeah, we've got who else here? John 14:6, fond memories of Billy. Yeah. Silver Beast says hello, Mario. Real the One says hi, Mario from Sweden. Nice, nice to see someone from Sweden. Clifton Murphy says our family uh, is a fan. Thank you. Calder Park Zoo, you're back to health with a healthy 100K. Uh, Congratulations, well deserved. Thank you. Dutch Libertarian, Native American, yes, it did even happen here in Fortin. Stormy Gavin, I'm worried about Trump's no-fly zone over Mar-a-Lago expired June 1st. Yeah. Tom Shosund, that sounds like a Swedish name. He says hi. Not sure I pronounced it correctly. Aaron Ritchie from Tennessee. Justin Taylor. Hi, Justin. Magma. Magma from Canada. Oh, Tom is from Norway. Sorry, Tom. Bratislava, Slovakia. Nice. Anton Spowy. Lighty plays from Poland. Yeah, I like having, that I like the fact that there's people from all over the world. In terms of percentage, I think about 45 to 50 of my viewers are from the US, and then about 17 to 20% UK, and then Canada, Australia, Netherlands is up there, and then maybe New Zealand. Joanne Roberts from Florida. Harold, The Island Earth from Harold Wood in the UK. Spock 2024 is between Gettysburg and Antietam. They're famous Civil War places. River Rats, looking good for a great radio interview. Thank you. Yeah, TNT Radio. They're UK based. I think they're also in Australia. They've interviewed me about 3 times, a couple of different guys. Rudy the Snoozer, yeah. Clifton Murphy from Northern California. Eric Milner from Oshawa, Ontario. Yeah, we're going to touch upon Canada a little bit today. I've noticed people are complaining about grocery prices in Canada. Valencia 777. Hi from the UK. Thanks for all you do, Mario. Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for all of your guys' support. I wouldn't be at 100,000 if it wasn't for you. And yeah. So we got another 4 minutes till we get onto things. Captain Banana, why do foreigners to the USA think of the law and order in the United States right now? Well, it's pretty much like here in the UK and the rest of the West. There is no more law and order. And why? Well, I think it's got a lot to do with our monetary system. It's a symptom of a failing monetary system, which is what we're going to talk about today. The powers that be will do uh, anything, including trample on the rule of law, to get their way and to, shut uh, dissidents, people who criticize, people who can see what's happening. Um, in the US, they're even like trampling on the First Amendment. Um, like you can't criticize a group of people, which is crazy. Jay says, Mary, what are your thoughts about the Japan central bank intervening once again to prop up the yen? Yeah, I think it's a losing strategy for them. Usually, you should intervene in the market uh, in the way that the trend is going. And with the yen being very weak, it's not going to work. They're just going to waste tens of billions of dollars doing it. What they need to do is raise rates a lot more. They raised it from minus zero point 0.1 to 0, and they need to stop QE. They're still doing like $40 billion of QE a month. So until they do that, until they give, but they can't do that because Japan is up to here in debt. And I'm sure the United States and the IMF are pushing them to stay, with rates at 0. Frank Kavija, thank you for your super chat. He says, what happens when the Singapore Gold Exchange and Futures Exchange take the physical silver and gold supply from LBMA, COMEX, and CME? Well, I think they already are doing that, and that's why price of gold has gone up so much this year. And I would say the Shanghai Gold Exchange is much more of a physical exchange. The futures, not so much. And any member of the public can deal in the Singapore Gold Exchange. So there's a lot of demand there, and yeah, it's going to continue to drain physical gold. And actually, we're going to go through an article where someone who's been in the gold market for a long time actually says that China's taken over the gold market. OF, thank you for your super chat. Andrew Watson, thank you for your super chat. Orbo Lobo, thank you for your super chat from New York City. Salute and cheers to all stackers. Salute. Salute and cheers. Captain Banana, thank you for your super chat. Mark Hall, thank you, Mario, from sunny South Florida. Yeah, I'm not surprised. It's not that sunny here in OD England. Native American says gold is up only 20%. Food is a better investment. Get the freezer filled as an investment. Well, yeah, food. I mean, gold, you don't have to put it in the freezer or in the fridge. And it will be there in 10, 15 years. Food, not so much. And you can always exchange gold or silver for food. So, and I think gold and silver are going to go up a lot more than food eventually. Um, Really cold says oil price falling election year. Yeah, there's some people who think the Biden administration is selling some of the strategic petroleum reserves. They probably are, even though they don't have much left. David K. Pepe Escobar reported that his sources indicate that within the month, BRICS will make a major announcement about the new currency. That will be huge. Yeah, I saw that. I listened to him. He did an interview. I forgot with whom it was. Denny Haifong could have been, and he spoke about that. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. So let me just check here. So yeah, the title of the live stream, and I've said that before, I have to give it a title, but it doesn't mean we have to talk about that the whole time. We can go through your questions. Title is BRICS Preparing for Collapse of Dollar and International Monetary System. It sounds a little bit alarmist, but I don't think it is, because I've been warning, and others as well, like Andy Schechtman and others in the alternative space for years, that the petrodollar, I have a petrodollar file. I started warning about the petrodollar back in 2017 because I saw that the Chinese were opening all these commodities exchanges, the Shanghai Gold Exchange, Shanghai Futures Exchange, and that they were cooperating with Russia and other countries so they could deal with each other. And we could see that. but the mainstream is just starting to see that. But it's the old saying, the horses have bolted already. The barn door is open, and they're going to be late to the show. And what does that mean? Well, it means that they don't understand why, gold is going up and why silver is going to also go up so much. They're going to find things that don't make sense to justify it. David K, may I ask, if one wants to buy physical gold, how easy is it to convert it back to dollars? Does one go to an exchange, etc.? Mechanically, how does it work? Well, the best place to go is to go back to the dealer that you bought it from, because it's like you buy a car from a car dealership. You might want to go back to him or her to sell it. You could do it privately. You might get a better price, but you have to find someone that wants to buy gold or silver. Yeah, and you shop around. The dealer where you bought it from might have had a good price when you bought it. He might not have as good a price to buy it back as another one. And yeah, that's how you do it. It's just like you know, any other item that you're going to sell. Bit of water. Um, P.S. Thank you for your super chat. Can you interview Whitney Webb? Yeah, my wife listens to her a lot, and I've listened to her. Uh, I'll see what I can do if I can get in touch with her. So, uh, why are we talking about this BRICS preparing? Well, there's been some headlines in the last day or two about that. One of them is here. I'll show you from my X or Twitter account. And this is from BRICS News. BRICS say Russia says BRICS must be prepared for the collapse of the dollar. And this could be, related to um, could be related to what Pepe Escobar was saying, right? They're preparing. And there's this story here. I took it from a website from one of the old Soviet countries. I had to do a screenshot. Uh, so I don't have the website here, but it says BRICS should be ready for dollar collapse. It was a Russian IMF representative. So let's go through it, see what he says. The international group could create an alternative, that's the BRICS currency, based on their national legal tenders, according to Alexei Mosin, um, says RIA Novosti. The BRICS groups of nations could offer an alternative currency in the event of the collapse of the dollar and the international monetary system, according to Russia's executive director at the IMF. In an interview with RIA Novosti published on Friday, the expert noted that the shortcomings of the current financial system are becoming more apparent and that many publications have started to mention BRICS in the context of the fact that this association can offer an alternative. Yeah, and people like me, Andy Schechtman, and others for the last 2, 3 years. A lot of there's been people, for example, like the dollar milkshake crowd who've been poo-pooing, the BRICS. And by the way, I'm not saying that the BRICS alternative is going to be any better, but what it will do, it will hurt the dollar a lot. And I think that's why they've been buying gold, the BRICS countries, because you got to have gold if you want to make your currency credible and for people to accept it. And that's why we've had in 2022 and 2023 and in the beginning of this year, so many of these central banks buying a record amount of gold. Mosen explained that it is possible for the economic bloc's member countries to create a currency that would be built on a basket of currencies of the 5 member countries, which would include the Chinese yuan, the rupee, Russian ruble, the real, and the South African rand. So there you go. That's the story. So it's from this IMF executive director at the Russian executive director at the IMF. And it's interesting because a friend of mine this afternoon, he sent me a link to this story in the New York Times. Yeah, I have subscribed to the New York Times a few months ago. It's only $20 a year, and but I probably won't renew it. But he sent me the link to this, and it's from, I think it's from today. Yeah, 5th of May. So there you go. China is buying gold like there's no tomorrow. So you see, 2, 3 years ago, if you had told mainstream about BRICS and everything, they would have laughed at you. But now the New York Times is talking about it, and I've highlighted here a part where they talk to this guy, chief economist of the Bank of China in Beijing. And this is what he says and what the New York Times says. When China increased its gold holdings in the past, it bought domestically using renminbi, said Guan Tao, global chief economist at Bank of China International in Beijing. Bank of China is not the central bank. It's the central bank is the People's Bank of China. But this time, he said, the bank is using foreign currencies to buy gold, effectively reducing its exposure to the US dollar and other currencies. Many central banks, including China, started acquiring gold after the US Treasury Department took the rare step of freezing Russia's dollar holdings under sanctions imposed on Moscow. Other American allies imposed similar restrictions for their currency. Mr. Guan said the sanctions had shaken and this is why I think this talk about a collapse is not just from Russia, but from China. Mr. Guan said the sanctions had shaken the foundation of trust for the current international monetary system. So there you go. If you don't have trust in the system collapses. And that's why, I don't think my title for the live stream is really too dramatic. And force central banks to protect their reserves with more diverse holdings. We can see this wave of gold's rise may be different from the past, he said. And there's a part here and this is from someone I've heard of. I haven't interviewed him or met him, but he's quite well known, especially in London. Uh, his name is Ross Norman, Chief Executive Metals Daily. He's a very LBMA London-centric guy. But and this is why I think is significant, because he says China is unquestionably driving the price of gold, said Ross Norman, Chief Executive of MetalsDaily.com, a precious metals information platform based in London. The flow of gold to China has gone from solid to an absolute torrent. And he also says, where is it? Let me see if I can find it. He said something to the effect that China really now controls the gold price. And that's why someone asked about the LBMA and the COMEX. Yeah, they're losing control. And that's why the price is going up, because the COMEX and LBMA, they're paper-based markets, and they're having to cover their shorts because China is buying real gold, not just they don't want paper. Let's see if I find his comment here. Anyway, let's see, Norman. Anyway, let's see what questions you guys have. So we've covered that article and we cover the other one. All right. LG, Mario, would the BRICS use China's cross-border interbank payment system to move funds between the members? Maybe in the beginning they would, but I think the BRICS countries are going to work on a BRICS payment system. They might even use blockchain for that, not for individuals, but and it would be like a private blockchain, which sounds a bit weird because it's supposed to be open and transparent, but it will be open and transparent, I think, for the central banks. Um, Billy Bob says, Market Sniper, Greg Manarino, Rafi, Big Swear. Anyone recommend more? What do you mean by that, Billy Bob? Are you saying about who I should interview? I mean, I recently interviewed Market Sniper. I've had Rafi Faber on my live streams and done interviews with him. I haven't had Greg Manarino nor Big Swear. Scott 49 140. Been trying to read Rothbard's America's Great Depression. It is true that interest rates are due to time preference, not liquidity preference. Yeah, I have that book. That's a really good book because he shows that the Great Depression was really a result of very loose monetary policy in the 1920s that the New York Fed kept. And why do they do that? Well, to keep the British pound, relatively strong, because Churchill put the pound back on the gold standard at a very high rate. You know, he made the pound too strong, and so the New York Fed had to keep rates low, and that pushed, the stock market higher. That created the real estate bubble in Florida, and they had to raise rates, and everything collapsed. And I think that's why we had the Great Depression. Big Dog, what black swans cause a huge jump in precious metals? Well, it's difficult to say because a black swan is something we don't know. But yeah, it could be geopolitical. It could be to do with the banks. The banks aren't doing well. And it could do with geopolitics, could be to do with war, because in times of war, it's a lot of the supply chains and you know and we've seen that the West is not even at war with Russia, but they've frozen their reserves. And I think the Chinese are very much aware of that. Of course, last week the U.S. Treasury announced they're sanctioning two or three Chinese companies, and I think the banks could be next. Uh, Likes plays, get an interview done with Andrew Maguire. Well, I've contacted him many times and I've never got a reply. So I assume he doesn't want to do an interview with me. I might try again though, but I've tried several times and got no reply. Fort Knox is empty. Yeah, I mean they haven't had an they haven't had a audit for decades. LG says, I think Powell is holding rates higher for longer, more to protect the dollar, but he's weak because he will criticize Congress to check government spending. I don't think he will. He always, Fed chairman always say, the Congress has to do that, but they don't have the power really to tell Congress what to do. I agree with you that he's keeping the dollar, trying to keep the dollar strong, but I don't think he'll succeed because, sorry, let me have a. I, I think the credibility of the dollar international monetary system has been shot. So I don't think it really matters if he, even if he raises rates to 7 or 8%. Don't think the Chinese and the other global South countries will care much about the dollar. And if anything, if he raises rates, treasuries go down in value, and a lot of these countries have treasuries. It will be like a vicious circle. They will sell their treasuries. So he's between a rock and a hard place. History discover. Do you think all the 7 million Palestinian refugees will be able to return to Palestine? Well, I don't know. There's a lot of Palestinians in everywhere around the world, especially in the Middle East. But who knows? It's a topic that is very controversial. I have, I know a lot about the history of that area, but yeah, we'll try to stick to the dollar right now. Yeah, he is afraid to criticize Congress. Rob says 42.22. Yeah, that's the official statutory price of gold in the United States. That's the price that the Fed values its gold certificates at, 42.22. Matthew Liz Wanizo, do you believe in God? Yes. That's an easy one for me. Do you think the Fed is going to begin a digital token-based dollar? Uh, I'm not sure if it really matters. We already have digital dollars, so yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, a lot of people, and I mean, I've had Clive Thompson on, like back in November 2022. We talked about he thinks there will be a reset and they will bring in CBDCs. I'm not too sure I agree on whether CBDCs will succeed. So we'll have to wait and see. Brian Heimbucher, uh, do the central banks buy their gold via the BIS or off the LBMA and COMEX? Uh, I would say they buy their physical gold off the LBMA. Yeah, it's done over the counter, but I would say that the BIS, they're the ones who act as an agent or a broker for the central banks. If the central banks want to hide who's doing what, the BIS will do it for them. But I think the Chinese central bank and the Russians, they don't use the BIS. Uh, and I don't think they really use COMEX because COMEX is more of a paper market, but they might. Or they might buy gold from directly from miners. I think the Chinese do that and so do the Russians. History discover. Is it possible for America to become part of BRICS and prosper together? I think I think so. I don't see why every country in the world couldn't cooperate and respect each other. And it doesn't even, you don't even have to join BRICS, but you could do business with them. But unfortunately, I think America and the Anglo and American Empire, they're so they've got they're hubristic, and they think they're better than everyone, and yeah, they're not willing to compromise and act as equals. They think they're exceptional. So yeah, but yeah, I think anything's possible. Why not? I mean, it was the Russian Navy that saved the North during the war between the States and the US. It was France that helped, for example, the colonies defeat the British. So yeah, just it doesn't, don't see why, I don't agree with communism and the Chinese economy has done well and they've done a good job of bringing China into the modern world. And I don't agree with their system of government, but it doesn't mean to say you can't deal with them and cooperate and respect each other, because our system of government and our societies in the West, they're not all that they're played up to be either. Richard Pickering, do you think Duncan Frisbee is right about the pound heading towards parity with the dollar in the near future? Well, I was forecasting uh, a month or 6 weeks before uh, September 2022, that the pound could collapse because usually the pound collapses in during the autumn or fall equinox. And that was in 2022, and we did. We went down to 103 versus the dollar in 2022. Um, the pound is already collapsing against gold, just like all the other currencies. So I'm not too sure the pound will collapse against the dollar, but of course it's going to keep collapsing against gold, and that's what matters. I think people give the dollar too much importance. So yeah, actually against the dollar, I don't see the pound dropping that far, but 2 years ago, the pound was about 1,500. The price of gold was 1,500 pounds, and this year we got up to 1,950. So that's the the money or currency that the pound's collapsing against. Um, ERWT 64, a pound was worth 450 and 45. Actually, I think it was down to four in 1945. They devalued it in 39, or I think, but the original rate was like 487, and that was just because of the weight of gold. 1 pound was a sovereign, which is this coin, and then yeah, and it was worth $4. A piece of gold like that was about $5. So that's where that exchange rate has come from. I think I have a let's see, a $5 gold piece, and you see where the exchange rate derives from. And that's why, gold is so important, because all the present foreign exchange rates are based on gold. Uh, you see, so here's a $5 gold coin, and here's the pound coin, which is the sovereign. So they're very similar, and that's why the exchange rate was 1 to like 4.86. Uh, yeah, but nowadays it's not based on gold anymore. And you can even do that for the euro. And for the euro, though, you have to go back to the legacy currencies in the euro, the Deutschmark, the lira, the French franc, and you have to go back even further, back to the beginning of the 1900s, and to see how much gold those currencies had. let's have a look here. I've got a few more things I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, one thing I wanted to talk about is the fact that this, what's happening vis-a-vis the BRICS. The BRICS are getting stronger, the West is getting weaker. Um, I think it's all being done by design. And why do I say that? Well, because the powers that be want that, the people in charge, some people say, oh, the Chinese are in charge. And no, the people in charge are the bankers, the Western central banks, and the elite people like BlackRock and Rothschilds, Rockefeller. And I've spoken about this speech by a guy called James Wolfensohn. So here he is, former World Bank president, and he was speaking to Stanford Graduate School of Business at their graduation. And I'm going to take a link to this and put it in the chat, and you guys can listen to it. I'm not going to play it here, but suffice it to say what he was, and this was 2010 or 2011. He was saying that when he was young in the 50s, the West dominated the world. We had the biggest economy, the rest of the world was dirt poor. And he said that's going to be shifting. And and this is the guy who was president of the World Bank. He should know, and the IMF. So I think that is their plan. So I'm going to give you, hold on, uh, stop share. I'm going to put the link here so you can listen to it after we've done the live stream. So why am I touching upon this? Well, because I think this climate change, this green agenda, that a lot of you know that it started out in the 70s, and the Rockefellers, the UN, the Rothschilds are heavily involved, and they're using that. That's my opinion. They're using this climate change agenda to destroy the West because of all the rules and regulations, all the taxes they're imposing, especially here in the UK, all the destruction of, the farming industry. And at the same time, though, they're allowing China to build, loads of coal, coal plants again. Even and China at the same time, they are going big into this green agenda too, and they're getting the best of both worlds, while the West is being, kind of put down. And there's so many other things that's going on in the West. They're destroying our culture from within, and this is all part of the elites. They're doing this. They don't care. They live here, but they don't care if the balance of power moves to Beijing, because they'll be there as well. You can bet. Blackstone, not BlackRock, but Blackstone, they run uh, like a Rhodes Scholarship at Oxford for Chinese students. Why would we do that? Well, because China's going to dominate, and people like George Soros, they've known this all along. And is it any wonder that Jim Rogers, who worked for Soros, moved to China like over a decade ago, because he knew what was going to happen? So even though, and I'm not having a go at Jim Rogers, because I actually think he's a nice guy, but he's an insider. He knew what was coming. So I wanted to share another very interesting video here, and and in this video, it's in the website called Epoch Times, Epoch TV, and there's a guy here called Steve Malloy. He says how the green tech industry is empowering communist China. Uh, and it seems crazy, doesn't it, that we're allowing this to empower China? But I think it's how can I say, it's policy. And Mr. Wolfensohn, he warned us, 14 years ago. So here you go. I'm going to take this link as well, and I highly recommend you listen to this too. Yeah, so they're destroying the West on purpose. And I think, yeah, the dollar is going to be a victim as well. And that's why we need to have some gold and silver for protection. Um, and I just wanted to show you James Wolfenson's background and why I think, you know, it's important to look at the guy. He died, let's see, he died 4 years ago. He was born in Australia, but he's Australian American. Look at his early life, right? Wolfensohn was born in Sydney, New South Wales. And look, his father was a highly intelligent but failed businessman who had previously worked for the Rothschild banking family. There you go. He was named after James Armand de Rothschild. And you can see his, he worked for J. Henry Schroeder, London Investment Bank. They're probably a big Schroeder. They were probably shareholders in the Bank of England, the Fed, worked for Salomon Brothers. And then, of course, he went to become president of the World Bank. So that's the kind of guy he was. He was an insider, and he knew what was going on. So there you go. History discovered. Do you think the index funds and ETFs will survive this and be a safe bet too? Well, ETFs are exchange traded funds. A lot of them are issued by banks and their promises. So, no, nor are index funds. A lot of them are issued by banks. So you have to be careful. I'm not saying you shouldn't have any of those, but make sure you have something outside the system to protect yourself. And don't put all your eggs in the ETF or index fund basket, I would say. LG says, don't think BRICS will go to 100% pure back gold currency. No, I don't think they will either. And I didn't say that. Back in the 19th and early 20th century, there was a gold standard. And for example, Britain kept about a third uh, backing for the pound. The US until 1968 had a gold cover for the Federal Reserve note liabilities of 40%. By the time LBJ scrapped that, it was down to 25%. But what I think could happen in a crisis where the currencies collapse, which we could be very near, we could see gold go up so much that it would back everything 100%. But then, of course, it will probably correct a bit. P.S. Thank you for your super chat. Uh, Jim Rogers been telling us to buy gold for ages. Yeah, no, he has, and he's been big into commodities, agricultural, especially Jim Rogers, because he knows what's going on, because he worked for the Quantum Fund and George Soros for many years. Mark Hall, thank you for your super chat. Does oil, Mario, will the stock market ever crash? I think the way to look at the stock market is versus real things, i.e., gold as well. Yeah, because in the 70s and in early 1980, um, the stock market went sideways from the late 60s to 1980. So in real terms, people lost a lot because there's a lot of inflation. And then when gold went up to 800 and almost $900 in January of 1980, the Dow was about 850. So the Dow gold ratio went to 1 to 1 ratio. So you might not see a crash in the stock market, but what you'll see is a crash in the dollar versus gold. And you might see the stock market go sideways for the next decade. Who knows? I mean, it all depends on whether the central banks provide more liquidity, and I think they will. They'll have to. Over here, shortages in the supermarkets a concern to you? I guess not right now, but it could be, I guess, especially if the geopolitical situation gets worse. If they get China involved as well. China, if we have like a war between the West, China, and Russia, the supply chains could be completely gone. So, yeah, it is a concern. Thomas Moran, how do you see the collapse happen? Will everything go up in value in fiat currencies like commodities? Yeah, I think that's the way it's going to be. The only real monetary asset that the dollar and all other fiat currencies can collapse against uh, are gold and silver. So it's a bit like a hyperinflation. It might not get as bad as 1923, but that's probably what you'll see because, as I said just a few minutes ago, I don't see the Western central banks wanting to tighten or even stop, continue to unwind their balance sheets. They can't, because if they do that, the whole economy collapses, and they're going to try to keep it going, and it's all going to be reflected in the currency. The way I see the stock market is a little bit like the FTSE has done in the last 25 years. If you look at the FTSE 100, which is the UK index for the major companies here, it touched almost 7,000 in the year 2000. And recently we made a high above 8,000. And there's been headlines, oh, FTSE makes a new all-time high. But in the year 2000, you needed 38 ounces of gold to buy one FTSE. Now you just need 4 ounces of gold to buy a FTSE. So I could maybe see that happening, for the US stock market in the next decade or two. It's just going to move sideways while, real things go up in value. Uh, Aka Investici, or I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Would you buy a home now or instead buy gold and wait? Well, here in the UK, the average house price to gold ratio is relatively low. I mean, you needed over 600 ounces in 2004, and now you need about 138. So if you've got gold right now and you don't have a house, um, yeah, maybe I would buy a house, but try to keep some of the gold. I don't see a house as an investment. I mean, you need a house to live. So yeah, and if you don't buy a house, you have to rent, and rents are going up. They're not going to go down. So, but I think the gold price could go up even more relative to house prices, but it's not. I think in the last 70 years in the UK, the lowest that ratio has been is like 90. So we're not too far from that, but it's still quite far. LG, when Saudi Arabia ends the US dollar petrodollar standard, gold will double. Yeah, I think they're already doing that. I mean, I think Saudi Arabia is kind of a little bit still trying to work on join. They haven't really joined the BRICS. They said, they were invited last year, but eventually I think they will. And I think they're already dealing with China in their own currencies, and China is the biggest buyer of Saudi oil, if I'm not mistaken. P.S. Is Javier Milei a plant? Yeah, I'm not too sure about that guy. I'm not too sure. He said he was gonna shut down the central bank. I see that the Argentinian central bank is still around, so who knows? But he is doing a few things that are right, in my opinion, cutting the size of government. But yeah, I'm not sure I trust him 100%. But I think he's better than what you had before, that's for sure. Choose Life says, Choose Travel, congratulations on your 100,000 subscribers. You're welcome, and thanks for everyone else who's who who has congratulated me. Uh, Charles Sholton, will all U.S. banks consolidate to five or six? Um, I'm not too sure. I mean, I think there's over 5,000 banks in the U.S. Uh, Not sure it will be five or six. Maybe it will go down to 1,000. And of course, that will mean that the big New York banks will be even more powerful. I mean, here in the UK, yeah, we only have like really four or five banks that really matter. There are some other ones, but people never heard of them. So I'm not sure it's going to go down to five or six, but it will definitely shrink. LG, main reason for US military now is to enforce US dollar as world reserve currency. Yeah, I mean, that's what they've been doing for the last, since 1971. But I'm not sure they're gonna be able to do that because they have a whole a huge chunk of the world, and if you count China and Russia in there, who have nuclear weapons, who are abandoning the dollar. So I'm not sure they will succeed. And the U.S. military hasn't been able to perform that well in the last, hasn't won a war since World War II. It stayed 20 years in Afghanistan and had to leave without accomplishing much. So, and I think what's happening in Ukraine is going to be another defeat. I think Ukraine is almost done and dusted, and I think Russia will win. I'm not taking sides. I'm just like, you know, telling you what I've observed from listening to people not in the mainstream, of course, because if you listen to the mainstream, it looks like Russia's finished, right? But I think it's anything but that. Michael Cleveland says, thank you for your super chat. Buy gold, use cash, and they track it down. Hmm. Well, they can track you for everything these days. I don't think it's a reason not to buy gold. And talking about, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Glint. And I haven't spoken about Glint for a while. I still have I'm affiliated with them still. Some of you know what Glint is. GlintPay is like an app. So you can get the an app, the Glint app, and basically you can buy gold, and they store your gold uh, in the BRICS, vault in Zurich, Switzerland, and in the US and the UK, you also get a MasterCard, and you can spend your gold if you want. I mean, I have a Glint app, so we have buy, save, and send and spend real gold instantly with Glint. I prefer physical gold, but I've had a Glint card since 2018, and it's worked really well. And the other thing I wanted to tell you about Glint is that they're actually working, and that's what the CEO of Glint told me a couple of months ago. Maybe I should have him on. Is that Glint is working with the state of Texas, for example, to maybe provide them with a white, you know, uh, because the state of Texas wants to make gold legal tender. So they might use like something similar to the Glint app. They'll do a white, what's the term? I forgot now, but Glint will give them the technology so that people in Texas can, spend gold through the Texas depository using Glint technology. Of course, the app won't be called the Glint app. It will maybe called the Texas gold currency or something like that. And I think Glint is also starting to do work with other states, because there is a big move in the US towards a gold system. ILG, I'm not sure who their auditor is, but they do have an audit every year. So yeah, I do have a referral code for anyone who's interested. Mario Glint 79. If you open an account and you use that referral code, Mario Glint 79. Yeah, it is a private company. I think the CEO, they've raised a lot of capital or money through equity, private equity, but they eventually want to go public. So, yeah, as I said, I prefer physical, but some people might like to have the option of having a little bit of gold in Glint. And if you travel around the world, you can spend your gold anywhere. And that's more for I'm not sure if they're providing the MasterCard in Europe. They do provide the MasterCard in US and the UK. And I think they want to make it worldwide as well. So there you go. Yeah, Glint, John 14:6. Uh, yeah, I've asked Jason Cousins, he's the CEO. Uh, he's not really interested in doing silver at the moment. His focus is on gold. Yeah, in the UK, it would have VAT. Um, Actually, it might not have VAT if you keep the silver unallocated, but the gold is allocated though. But his focus is on gold. Eventually, it might happen that they'll do silver. They might do it in the US. Yeah, Big Bush Ape. Yeah, he says he invested in Glint on the secondary market. I also did Big Bush. I actually did it through a company called Cedars. I think that's what they're called. And I bought a few. I didn't put that money much into it. I mean, but I looked at it the other day and it looks like the share price has gone up, but it's a private market. But maybe if they do an IPO eventually, it could be worth something. Um, I'm not sure right now if there is a private placement to buy Glint shares. Yeah, I have some. I put how much did I put in there? Well, I put in there money that wouldn't really matter to me if it went to zero. That's the way I look at it. But I think it could be interesting. Bob Dublin says you folks in the UK need to get rid of VAT and all taxes. Where are you, Bob? No taxes where you are? If you're in the US, you've got a lot of taxes. You got sales tax as well. Uh, I saw that Sleepy Joe wants to bring in a capital gains tax on unrealized gains. And I'm not saying taxes are good. I agree with you. I'm not sure why they still charge VAT on silver, probably because they don't want people to buy. The Sovereign Van, Monaco 64, is Clive CIA? What are you talking about? No. Clive is, no, he's a retired private banker in Geneva. He's originally from England. I don't think they hire foreigners in the CIA. I don't know why you would ask that. Clive CIA? Who knows? But I don't think so. Forbidden Planet. Joe Biden is our first zombie president. No sales tax in Oregon. I don't think the VAT on silver will matter in when silver becomes, unobtainium. Uh, when I bought silver, I wasn't the first time in 2003. I wasn't happy about the VAT, but the price that I paid back then is like, you know, uh, it was like £3 per ounce, and I had to pay like 40p and 40p in VAT, and now I think the price of silver is way above 20. So what I'm trying to say here, yes, it's annoying that we have to pay VAT, but it shouldn't stop you from stacking. Kevin Ernst. Yeah, I've had Mark Faber on a few times. I like Faber. Scott 49 140. Would you say capital gains tax would apply on silver bars if you made a senior profit on them if you melted them down and minted coins? What do you mean? You mean if you went to the mint? Uh, I'm not sure, if it became money again, I don't think they would put capital gains tax on it. Cornelia Unfiltered Official, would you like to do a live with me from Sweden? Well, yeah, I mean, send me an email. I have an email on my YouTube channel under the description for, business contacts or, um, send me an email through there. It's on my YouTube channel. We'll see what we can do. Cable guy, China is draining our precious metals, not mine, because I'm not selling, maybe yours. Um, Well, yeah, of course it's moving to China. Yeah, of course it's overseas, unless you're in China, which then is not overseas. No sales tax, precious metals in Texas. No, and I didn't mean precious metals, but because that guy said, "Oh, you've got too many taxes, not just in metals, but you pay sales tax for everything else." You know, I think that's what I meant. There's no sales tax or VAT on gold. There is on silver here, unfortunately. Got a couple of minutes to go. So if you want to ask some questions, do it now, because they're almost finished. Dave Johnston, no, numismatic shouldn't. There's no VAT on numismatic coins, nor on coins that, like silver coins pre 1920. There shouldn't be any VAT there either. James H., when it comes to gold, would you invest in collector or bullion coins? Um, I would say if you're starting out and you want to do it as a protection against inflation, I would do bullion. Collector's coins, I have collector's coins. I think you should do that once you get used to buying the bullion coins. And if you really enjoy those coins, then you graduate to looking at the collector's coins. And yeah, uh, collecting is different, of course, numismatics, but there are some collector's coins pre 1933 in the US, for example, uh, that have a very small premium. So you can buy them as well as if you're, buying bullion almost. I know someone in the US this past week, they were buying pre 1933 double eagles for about 3% over spot. So it depends on the rarity of the coins as well. Mr. Meltz, what's your stocks to gold ratio? Do you mean mining stocks? Because I don't have any other stocks other than mining, but it's not a huge ratio. I prefer physical gold and silver. So yeah, it's not big, but people have their own, they should do what they feel comfortable with. Because I think the mining stocks, gold and silver miners, uh, they they're highly leveraged, so you don't need that much. And I like having, the safety of physical gold and silver. White Ravens, what are your thoughts about the gold backs from the USA? Do you mean those they look like banknotes, the gold backs? Yeah, they're all right. I prefer coins, really. I think I did a giveaway and someone sent some of those gold backs. Yeah, they're all right, but I prefer coins and bars. How much time does Chucky Three Sticks have? King Charles III? I don't know. Only God knows how long he has. Anyway, Carlos Garcia, what do you think of RFK Jr. on economy and debt? Um, I'm not too sure he's too. I'm not too sure he's too enlightened about economics and debt. Um, Yeah, he's more of a, but I think he's better than what we have now. You know, he's exposed like the Federal Reserve, but I wonder if that's just for show. But anyway, but I haven't really listened to him that much lately. Andrew Brown says, "Thank you, Mario, for your live chat. It is good to have you back in good health. Don't overdo it. You should interview him open for small channels." Well, actually, I contacted, the children's something, I forgot. And this was back in, excuse me, 2021, 2022, before he started running, because I agreed with him during COVID, what he was saying. And they came back and they said he didn't have the time. So who knows? Anyway, yeah, we've gone past the time. So I'm gonna thank all of you for showing up, and hopefully we'll keep coming back. We should be coming back every Sunday. And yeah, thank you for your support again, and take care. And everyone have a great week.